Barbies and wrapped the present. And I remember walking into that apartment and it was totally bare and it was almost Christmas time. And my heart I just felt something, just, wow, they really do need our help. And we had a Christmas tree and we put it up and we decorated it and put food. And I still remember the feeling I had, and I always kind of get welled up, but when I placed my Barbie under the tree, I just felt so much joy. And it didn't even matter anymore that I had given my favorite toy to this family. And my parents gave us a lot of opportunities, not exactly like that, but just where I felt the power of service and giving to others who needed and didn't have as much as I did. And I just owe so much to them for teaching me that lesson, because years later, in 2017, we lost our daughter Lily in a rollover car accident, and it saved my life. Because for some reason, in that tragedy, my mind shifted to, how can I serve? And of course I was in a dark place. Of course I was angry and mad and sad, and it's just a place that that grief and the anguish, I'd never felt anything like it, but there was always this service in my head. Lily also wrote an essay her last 6th grade year, and we didn't even know she was writing it, and she came to us and said, I won first place. And it was all about doing good. It was about finding little ways to do good each and every day. And that was just like her last letter to us. Like, this is what we should do to continue her legacy. And so as my mind shifted, as I said, to this service, and I knew, like, she loved to dance, and I thought, how cool would it be if I could partner with someone and provide dance scholarships to kids who can't afford it. And so she had danced at Prima Dance in Rapid City, and I reached out to her, the owner there, Christy Remington, and she thought it was an awesome idea. And she's like, you know what, we already go to Girls Inc., and if you're not familiar with Girls Inc., it's kind of like a boys club for girls. And we already go there, every year we've been going there and we perform for them. And so I made up some essay questions, and these girls could, they could put their name in a contest kind of thing. And we were able to read through those, and it was such a gift. It was only 3 months after Lily had passed. It was in that December. And it was such a gift to read through those stories of these girls that have always wanted to dance, but couldn't because of financial reasons. And it'd been their dream to even dance at Prima Dance. It's the biggest dance studio in Rapid City. And then I heard that Prima wanted to offer a dance scholarship. And then her point teacher wanted to offer a dance scholarship. So going into that night, we had 3 scholarships that we were going to give. And I remember walking into the gym and just overcome the sadness because Lily wasn't going to be there dancing. Her friends were dancing, which was awesome. But I was in the corner sobbing, and I remember Josh putting his hand on my back, always my rock. And just that extra nudge of, I got myself under control, and we were able to offer these scholarships. And I'll never forget these girls when their names were called, walking up with tears streaming down their face and the biggest smile. And I never thought that you could feel so dark and so sad and feel the highest of highs at the same time. But in that moment I did. And it was because I was serving another. Again, I felt that. And by the end of that night, some 3 Prima families came up to us and said, we want to offer scholarships too. So instead of 3, that night we left with 6 scholarships, 6 girls that were able to dance. And we've done that every year since. And it's been a blessing for those girls. And one of the stories, Shelly, she works at Girls Inc., and she's one of the head ladies there. And she said one of the mothers was not there to help their daughter get ready. That's just how it sometimes worked. But she was there, she was able to help her get ready, feed her a little something, take her to a recital. But just examples of how others reached out during this time too. And so here's a little picture of the first girl that received a dance scholarship from the Live Like Lily Foundation. So the
Hey,
next,
can I
go
interrupt
ahead,
you?
yeah,
So since then, how many dance scholarships have been offered?
we've had over 30, I believe. Yeah. And, oh, and I have to tell one story too. So we also do a day of kindness, which I will get to, but it's in the middle schools. And I remember standing there, we do an assembly, and one of the girls, she was the student body president. And she said to me, she said, you're like Lily, right? I was one of those scholarship recipients that you gave to Prima, and now here she is leading her school. So I can't help but think that was something that helped her on her journey to middle school student body president. So it's really cool, full circle moment. So another thing that I had been reading about is just screens, right? We all hear about it, we all use them. How do you control with your kids and all these things, and the epidemic that's going on with screens and teenagers and kids. So I thought about my Lily, and she never did have a phone. She wanted one, but she passed away when she was 13, but she never had one. And I just thought, you know what? She lived life to the fullest. She was always a full body experience, arms in the air, very excited about life and happy. And I thought, you know what, that's because she didn't have a phone. And I'm not totally against phones, they're in our lives, but I am, I guess, with regulations. But I just thought about an idea called the Look Up ad, and it's all the middle schools participate. And the theme is look up life exists beyond your phone. So it just invites middle school students to think about their usage on the phone. And we've had some pretty eye-opening things that have come in. Just, being on the phone doesn't make me feel very good, or just things like that. But I just wanted kids to think about their usage, right? Life is outside your phone. It's better outside your phone. But it's been an awesome experience. So the middle schools, they create these look-up ads, and the winner gets a $100 prize and their look-up ad on a billboard in Rapid City. So it's been, this girl right here, she won first. She's from STM in Rapid City, and she did a little interview with the news, and she said, you're always going to remember what you did outside of your phone, but you're never going to remember what you did on your phone, which I thought was a really, really good insight. And so just getting students to think outside of their phone and just what they're doing on their phone, and that life is better off of your phone.
So the billboard, the kids get it up on an actual billboard in town. It stays up for what, a month? A month. Yeah. Once in a while, the people are nice if they don't have another one come up. It just stays up.
So here's our next campaign that we do.
Hi, speaking I'm Michael Blackman. The world is easy to Gillette, and our goal is to empower you to access. Hi, speaking and with the location. Well, is you get shared our goal.
Okay, that's not working, sorry.
Oh, is there a speed issue?
Yeah, it's like.
Are you smart enough to know exactly what to do?
Absolutely not.
It does sound like the speed is trying
Yeah.
to
I
go a little
think
faster.
there's normally like a little,
Oh, I think you are smart enough to lose it.
no, don't keep that yet. It's one of these.
I did tell Stacy not to take up too much time, so she may have gone past most of mine.
You're just helping. Maybe not.
And I think that's what it is, but I don't know how to fix it.
Are you playing this from YouTube or
Yeah,
directly from
YouTube.
It is a thing on YouTube, I know that.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, there's a little button that you can click and you can play it like 2 times as fast, 3 times
Oh,
as
right
fast. I don't do that to get my kids there faster.
It just disappeared.
Hi, Gary. I would like to know questions. Or not.
What do you guys think?
Like it's buffering. I think the speed's fast, but it could be that too.
Stacy,
Maybe it's just
just turn the volume off and let them watch it, and then you just narrate along as it goes.
You've seen it so
I'm like,
many
yeah,
times.
Click on the gear. In the middle.
Hi, I'm Gary, and
Click on the gear first.
Playback speed is normal. That's what you were looking for?
Yeah,
right?
still click on that.
Okay.
Oh, it does say one.
time.
Oh, maybe 1 time faster than normal? No, I think
It
that's.
says normal is 1.
Oh, yeah.
Take it down and just see what it does. Yeah, just see what it does.
I am Gary, and I'm both like a new musician. So I'm on about
Okay. So, the Day of Kindness is something I came up with just from her essay mostly. It's, her essay basically talks about spreading joy, giving people compliments, opening the door for someone. And she says, like, during your life, you know, and so everyone's so busy that how do we even have time to do nice things? But she says it doesn't take much. It doesn't have to be a big service project. It takes smiling at someone, giving someone a compliment, opening their door. And that's what really makes and changes people's lives, are those little things that you can do each day. And Josh used to ask the kids every day, like, what did you do that was kind for someone? So that's probably what sparked her idea and her. But so we go to all the middle schools. They're all involved, all 5 middle schools, and then STM. It's a private school. But what they do is they just do acts of kindness, and they put them on these sticky notes like you saw, and they plaster them on walls and windows. And then we get a corporate sponsor in the community that pays $1 per act of kindness, and then they get to choose where their kind acts get to go, their kindness dollars we call them, go to, like a nonprofit in the community. So not only did they do that service, but it's rippling on in the community, and then it will just keep on rippling and rippling. And so it's been a really, really awesome experience to see kids just, for one day, to think about doing that, like have a really strong focus on kindness. And to date, we have over 35,000 acts of kindness that they've done. And so that means $35,000 back into the community. And we do an assembly every day of kindness. I go into each of the schools and I tell them, I say, you know what? You are part of something big, because you did an act of kindness that not only changed someone else, that person that you were kind to, but it's changing, say, people choose the Humane Society, right? It changes that, it helps them. Or the Children's Miracle Network, we had a representative from the Children's Miracle Network. He came and he said, this money is going to be used for monitors so that the parents, when they have to leave their child or their newborn baby, because they have to go shower or something, but they can always see and know how their baby is doing. And so for a middle schooler, even for me, I think, wow, that's pretty amazing. So this was made on the first year that we did the Day of Kindness. But I will show, I don't think it's gonna, here's,
Play from your computer.
oh yeah, there's,
And they're really quiet, and everybody's not even watching on chip. They can probably hear it.
so this is the assembly that we do, and you have the representative, like I said, from the corporate sponsor comes, and then the representative from the nonprofit that tells the kids where their money's
And
going.
that's Lily right there.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a North Middle School. He was the student body president for North Middle School, no, South Middle School. And I just asked him how it went, how the day went, what his thoughts were. And he just said, thank you for coming. It really changed our school. And then he said, I really felt it. And I knew that if he felt it, that he would never forget it. Because how many of us have, been the recipient of kindness, and it really changed our day, or even our year. Like, when you're so down, or you're so, you're having a hard day, a compliment, it lifts your day to the next level, right? Like, I have experienced that, and I still remember when I was younger, in school, and I still remember kind acts being done to me that changed me, that I needed that, And so, just the effect of, it's been so cool to see this school come together, to do all these acts of kindness, and just to read the little post-it notes has been really cool too. Like, someone dropped something and I picked it up, or so-and-so helped me with some books that I needed to take somewhere, or something like that. But just these little things that can change someone's life, really. And so it's been amazing to do these things, and it's actually been one of the best healing bombs that I've had. Like I said, in the early stages of losing our daughter, I was in such a dark place, and the grief and the hurt and all of that. But to be able to do that dance scholarship and feel so high, the highest of highs, while I'm still feeling this darkness, I just wanted to keep going. Keep, spreading her kindness and her legacy. And 3 years after we lost Lily, my sister lost her daughter. And it was during COVID, and so all the dental got shut down, at least Josh's did. And so it was the perfect time for us to just go out there for 3 weeks and be with them. And Josh, he runs a lot. He gets some good ideas. He'd come up with this SRV, IVRS, survivors. And we didn't really know, at that time, whoever gets through COVID, maybe we're all survivors, something like that. But as we came together with my sister, she said, and her husband, she's like, we've watched you guys, and we want to do the same. We want to, have that healing journey. It's still so hard, but it's such a bright spot in that journey, is being able to serve and continue our daughter's legacy. And so, survivors, like I said, SRV, IVRS. So you're the I in the middle, and you surround your life in service, serve and serve. Then that helps you transform your grief into a gift. And so that's how survivors came about, and my sister and I got on Facebook Lives, and we started sharing our grief, and that actually was another layer of helping me heal, because I was a very private griever, but to be able to get on and just be vulnerable, it helped a lot. And then as we kind of said all we could say, we invited other people to come and tell their story of loss and how service, if they hadn't done service in memory of their lost loved one, they for sure had received service, and how that had changed their journey. And so I still remember the day when Josh came to me and he said, we need to go on a year-long trip and in RV. I'm like, what? And I said, no way.
I've been dreaming about this for a long time.
Yeah, and I had said, no way, like, I like where I live, I like my life, I don't wanna leave for a year. Like, I like to travel, but not for a year. And so it took maybe a whole year to convince me that we were going to go. But really, God put it on our hearts, and, you know, he just said, this is something you need to do to spread awareness for, you know, helping others build their lost loved ones' legacy. And so he put together like a year long of our route, going capital to capital. It was kind of an easy dot to dot. And we kind of planned it so we'd be in the south for the winter. So we kind of went, anyways, he'll share that. But so at the beginnings of the Black Pearl Project, I was totally against it. But I came around and we got a 38-foot long trailer or RV, and I had 5 lessons just driving around Rapid City before we left. So to say I was stressed is not an understatement, but so that's kind of how we got on the road with the Black Pearl Project, just to help others. And the miracles and the faith and just all the experiences that we have been pretty epic and life-changing and hard. Yes, it was hard. It was fun. It was all in between, kind of like life is, but it was on the road and on the move. So, I'll let Josh.
Great. So we, I think you can appreciate just a little bit what a beautiful journey it is to have seen that and to see the kids, to see the children in school, to see that happen within the community. One of the things that we learned early on too was that other people were grieving Lily's loss as well, not just us. And many of those people didn't get cards, many of those people didn't get dinners brought over, many of those people didn't go and get a lot of attention. They just kind of had to learn how to deal with the loss of a friend without some of that stuff. But inviting them to come and participate with us in these things was phenomenal. And you could see the healing that it brought on to them, which they needed. We all needed healing. And that's one of the little secrets to me that I had no idea that really existed, that gave people, and also people, they serve you early on, but then they kind of step into the back and they're like, I wonder how Josh and Stacy are really doing, you know, I wonder, did we help them enough to be able to allow them to healthily move on, healthily kind of live life. And then when you invite them to come and do things with you, then they get to see, oh my gosh, yeah, this is, and that makes the fruits, because we all like, if we put in some effort, I mean, how many hygienists here? If you scale a root clean a person's teeth and then they come back in 6 weeks and you look at them and you can't tell that you scale a root clean their teeth, depressing, not a happy, frustrating, right? That's a frustrating appointment. You do restorations on a patient and then a year later, you're like, wait a second, what the heck? And you gotta redo stuff or whatever. Anytime we invest in people and we don't get the chance to see that investment do some kind of good, it hurts us a little bit. And so in the grieving process, it's no different. If you go and you help somebody and then 10 years later you see that their relationships suck, they've become addicted to X, Y, and Z, they're not a happy person, you're like, man, I wish I wanted to, you know. But if you invest in people and then you see that they're moving on, that gives you fuel, right? It gives you a lot of excitement. Okay, let's see my computer. All right, so I'm going to take you just on a little bit of journey. And how many of you guys have been to all 48 states? I had never been to all 48 states.
I've never stepped into a Capitol building before this trip. That's so sad, like, they're so pretty. They're amazing. They're amazing buildings.
All right, let's see if it stays on with the So this is our route. As Stacy started, we started in Rapid City, right where the star is. So we started in Rapid City where the star's at, and we headed in this direction, trying to followed that route, and then coming back to Rapid City. The goal was to do it in a year. The goal was to run on foot everywhere we went to. And so we set off to that. And early on, this is the response that people gave, and this is kind of the look that people gave me when we talked about it. All this stuff. What?
What are you doing?
And again, I kind of was a little chatting, like, I didn't just like dream of this, oh, this will be fun. This is something that we felt really, when I was out running, it just was something that settled, and it settled in over time. It wasn't like one day I just came home and it was just kind of a feeling that kind of kept going. So we ended up making it happen. We sold our home, we bought this motor home, and Stacy, who prior to this had never driven anything longer than a
Ford
SUV,
Expedition.
became the pilot of this 38-foot motorhome. I mean, it's a diesel. It's a Freightliner diesel.
So who wrapped it for you?
The company that we bought it
In
from in
Denver.
Denver, they have a sister company that did the graphics, so we kind of created and designed, and then these are actually just big stickers. So it's this matte gray, which made it awesome for a background, but these
I
are
remember
just
you guys taking it off.
giant stickers,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So, and the kids were like, we are not riding in that motorhome for a year. Do you know how much attention you get? Yeah, that's the point. That's why we put it on
Why
here.
are people staring at us?
Yeah. So,
How old are your other kids?
So we have, on the trip it was 18, 16, 14, 12, and 5.
so this is the crew when we left. I wish we should have taken like exact same picture. You know, the hindsight's always so much better at this, but we didn't take this exact picture. But they grew a lot. So whatever space we had when we started was less because they got bigger. Okay, they got bigger.
Did you homeschool?
Yeah, my mom helped. She was the main homeschooler.
They went with you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They were in their own like truck and trailer.
That makes it a little,
Yes.
I was gonna say.
But
that's
this
a lot of
sleeps-
people.
Yeah.
This sleeps 9 people.
Wow.
9 people in there can sleep with their own bed, has a washer and dryer, generator, convection oven, stove, gas burner, on-demand water heater, toilet, shower, king-size bed, 150 gallons of water. I mean, it was a home literally on wheels, and wherever we parked it, you called it
I
your,
said it was like my castle. Like we could be in a run downtown in a gas station parking lot, because sometimes we did that.
many times.
And I was like my castle. I could just park and then I was
And
hiding.
it expanded out, so you've probably seen slides. This is my team when we left, so this is the people that made it possible for us to take off and do it. Noah, who I just need to introduce briefly, he drove our Ford Expedition. He volunteered, kind of a friend acquaintance of ours, aimless in life, great candidate for becoming aimless for a year. His daily task was
That's
just follow
hilarious.
Josh and keep up with Josh, which wasn't
And
hard.
make sure he has
Actually, it was harder than we thought, yeah.
The shirt.
So
I
he's-
wondered who that kid was.
So he's from,
Yeah.
he's from
Just
Spearfish,
friend.
and interestingly enough, I met him 1 month before Lily passed away, and I was randomly assigned to be with his group for a 50-miler backpack in Wyoming, Tetons, yeah. So I spent a week with Noah in the Tetons backpacking when he was 14 years old, and that's how I got Noah. He was amazing. Black Hills Runners Company in Rapid City. Thankfully, they sponsored all of our shoes, as many shoes as I wore. They said they put them on the feet.
That's so cool.
Them and Ultra. So I ended up getting 21 pairs. Really, I only wore 16 pairs, 15, 16
Did
pairs.
you wear a different pair on your left and right foot?
So it was a different color, but it was the same shoe. And so the different color was just symbolic, kind of a conversation starter to let people know that in grief we all take different steps. So, and that we meet people where they're at, and it's gonna look different. Just because Stacy and I are doing this in Rapid City, whatever you choose to do, we wanna help you in that journey, however
So
that's.
we always like, it was an orange and a blue shoe or a white and a black shoe.
And then these guys helped us with a software program to track me, so you could like every day look and see like where's Waldo kind of a thing
Oh.
along the way. So we called it the, what you're gonna get today is gonna get a couple pearls, so little things that I picked up along the way in some of our experiences. And we received those as pearls. Pearl forms initially from something like that's life-threatening, that's something that the clam or the shellfish, whatever it enters in, thinks it's gonna die from that coming into its shell. And so that as a result, it goes and it layers it little by little by little by little, and then it produces the pearl or this gift, right? And so in a similar way that Stacy, those 35,000 acts of kindness, those 30-something dance scholarships, these little things that are happening, those are layers for the pearl that is happening within our life. So that's where the pearls concept comes from. And black pearls are just cool anyway. So one of the things that I learned right from the very beginning is the importance of a decision. And every day you guys may not think about it or not, but you have a decision to come to work. I know you think you have to. I know you think that you need to come to work for the patients, which is true. But ultimately, you decide that every day. And there's lots of decisions that we make on a daily basis. Rarely do we kind of take a step back and think about the decisions that we're making. But when we do that, we can then start to see how important those decisions are. For example, when you decide to run across the country, and then on day 3, you can't walk, there's something that has to happen mentally. We were supposed to be in Pier, day 3, I think we made it there on day 4, but I had pain like I have never experienced in my life. Nothing was broken or injured. We went to the doctors there in Pier, and she said, maybe it might be because you just run 180 miles in 3 days, like that might be it. I'm like, well, that's not anything compared to what I've got ahead of me. And she just looked at me, sorry, everything looks fine to me, might need some rest, that's not gonna happen. So we had to at that time decide really, how is this gonna work? And that decision, and we had felt like we should do it, we invested so much in it. I had personally, I had experiences where I could see that I had already completed it. That was a gift to me. I already could see and feel what it was gonna feel like a little bit being done. And so I knew that the decision that I made was right, it was what we were supposed to do. So we stuck to that decision, and the question turned from if to then how am I gonna make this happen? How are we gonna do this? And that happens in the office. Sometimes things happen that are different than you planned in the office, and it's not if we're gonna take care of this patient, how are we gonna deal with Mrs. Jones today? Because she's on the schedule, she was a pain last time, how are we gonna deal with her in a way that's positive for us and for her and make the best of it? And once you make that decision, then solutions start coming. Creativity enters into the picture. But until you make that decision, there's so many doors that are closed because you're still wondering what? If. And if is there, then all the doors of solutions and creativity are totally closed. But once you make the decision, then those doors open. Not immediately, but they'll start to open. So, I'm not sure. This will good. This will be keep my pace. If it disappears, I'm not so we're right here on day 4, okay? And we have a crisis, we have a decision to make. And you can see as well as I can see, we got a long ways to go. A long ways to go. But we made the decision, and I had no idea when I made that decision what it was gonna feel like down the road. And I wanna just invite you, when was that last decision? Maybe it's something that you're trying to work on in your life, and a relationship that you're trying to heal. Maybe it's a skill that you're trying to think about bringing into the dental office. Maybe it's a relationship in the dental office that you're kind of trying to navigate. How are we gonna do this? Once you decide, then the solutions will come into that. And you'll not realize how amazing it feels to be in Seattle, Washington on day 99 days of running. And that sounds like a lot. Well, maybe, does that sound like a lot to you guys, 99 days of running? it is a lot. But, okay, but think about this though.
minutes of running.
But do you think that, does that sound like enough days to get you from South Dakota to Columbus, Ohio, to Lansing, Michigan, to then Seattle, Washington? I felt like, whoa, we're already in Seattle? How did this happen? And it happened just like this. One step at a time. Actually, it was more like this. That's about my pace right there. That's about as fast as I ran. But for 99 days, and then before you know it, I'm just north of Tijuana, Mexico. And Stacy has driven the RV through Minneapolis at that point, Chicago at that point, Seattle, Portland, Salt Lake City, Sacramento, LA, what other big places? Carson City, Nevada was really big.
Oh, yeah, that was hard.
I'm teasing. It's tiny. But she had driven this all that way, all the things that had happened, and when I was in Pierre, I couldn't picture this. I didn't know all the hows, but you know what? I didn't need to know all the hows. What I was committed to is taking another step. What I was committing to is finding out the next how, maybe the next day. For Stacy, as you heard, where are we staying tonight?
That was one of the hardest things. I don't know why. It was probably because I had 5 kids.
There's a lot
And it
of
wasn't
reasons
like we
why.
stayed in one place. We stayed a night, then we moved, stayed a night, and it was just finding another place to stay. Are we staying at a campsite? Do we have enough water to last us so we could just dry camp and be on the side of the road or a gas station? So my parents joined us in September because my mom helped with the homeschooling.
We were
She
in
was at the
Montana then.
Yeah, and so when they came, my dad helped with that one thing, and it was huge, just taking that off my shoulders, like, okay, I found a place, and then, so even like all the logistics, that was a lot. Let's just say the first month, I lost a lot of hair, because I was under a lot of stress, and we did question, like, my oldest daughter, she was 18, and we're like, we looked at each other like, what are we doing? Like, why did we think that this was a good idea?
So
But
would you call campsites and like
Yeah.
try to stay at a campsite if
Yes.
there was one in
we
that
would
area?
go probably like 2 to 3 times a week, we'd stay at a campsite, and then 2 times, maybe 2, yeah.
Weekends,
4
oftentimes
times
were
a
church
week.
parking lots,
Not.
because we'd find a place to go to church every Sunday,
Yeah.
and so that was kind of a home base when we went to the weekend, oftentimes it was a church.
But
parking lot.
there's an app called All Stays, and you can just put where you're going, and then it will show you, and the ratings and all that stuff. But sometimes there's some pretty sketchy
Did any
places.
of them let you stay for free, like given?
There was one lady, there
Yeah.
was one that did, yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that you could be late to church when you stayed overnight in the parking lot. But you can do it, I
With
promise.
teenagers.
With
Yeah.
teenagers, you can be late to church, even if you stay in the parking lot, your clothes are all there, everything is there, you can be late. And everybody knows who the family is walking in because their RV is out in the parking lot. They're like, what is this thing in our parking lot? So, February 17th came, and that was a day of another massive decision. So you can see the red circles where we had this huge decision here, February 17th. That weekend was crazy. We met the Swap family, and I put this picture in because this man, physically, he was a paratrooper, Army Ranger, something. His life was hard, and he was literally physically broken. He was leading the congregation, that was his assignment at the time, but I remember just talking to him in the hallway, and he's standing, and perspiration is coming from his brow because it's so hard for him just to stand up with his cane. He's leaning against the wall. He's in so much pain just from his brokenness in his life. And I remember just looking at him thinking, how does he live? I honestly don't think that I'm morbid, but like, I would think about ending my life if I was in that much pain and I was so hard every day. That would be a decision for me that would be really, really hard to face. He's facing it every day, and he's the pastor for this congregation, not getting paid a dime for being the pastor, but leading a congregation, supposed to be their spiritual leader, supposed to be the one that's setting an example for them on how to, kind of come and, do things. And he's broken, like literally broken. They lost their son Matthew. It was kind of some cool connections. But this guy, I met him Sunday. It was February 16th. The next day I start running, and I kid you not, everywhere I went, I just saw broken. The roads were broken. Everything was broken. We saw many of these, but on the wall, the name of this poem, broken. Everything was broken. In my running world, I'm known as the tortoise, the hare in the tortoise. I win the race because nobody else can go so slow for so long. Okay, that's my reputation. In fact, the only race I've ever taken first in was in North Dakota. There were 5 people in that distance. My good friend, he tried to run too hard, like the rabbit, and he threw up and had to quit. 2 guys chose to walk the whole distance. I could beat them. And then the other guy got lost.
Oh, no.
So I won, okay? And then guess what the trophy for that race was? A tortoise, like the shape of a tortoise. So it was meant to be. But I found this tortoise on the road that day, broken, which I know that I'm symbolic of the tortoise. And when I saw this tortoise at this point of my journey, I was broken. I walked 20 miles that day, and I made it to the New Mexico-Texas border, giving it literally everything I could physically and mentally. Like I was not stopping until I got to that border. But I was broken, and I knew inside, I knew at that,
In pain.
yes, I knew at that point that my legs, I was done. And it was weird because I wasn't injured in any joints, nothing like I didn't have anything, but something was wrong and I didn't know. So but I knew it that day, and I felt inside that all this day was telling me, look, you're broken, you're done. And so that decision came back again. And this could have been another really big if day. But because we made this decision in Pierre, then it was just another really hard, okay, we've got to dig deep. How is this going to happen? We're virtually 8,000 miles in. That's halfway through our journey. I've made it halfway on foot. How are we going to finish this? Is it going to be a month off? What are we going to do? Anyways, so that was a big, big transition. And then that day, I could not have pictured that was February 17th. Do I have time on this next one? Day 222, so that would have been, anyways, this would have been February 17th, this would have been just the end of March or first part of April, somewhere around there. I had no idea that day at the New Mexico and Texas border, I had no idea that I could be at Jacksonville, Florida beach in just a couple weeks. 6 weeks down the road, I would be here. I had no idea. We switched to a bike. That was the answer. That was the creativity. And it just happened to be that our in-laws had taken a little hiatus, a little bit too close to the family for a while. They had to get a break. And they were in Rapid City. They were in Rapid City when this all went down for me. So they were able to pick up our bikes, and they just brought us back. I mean, it just worked out amazingly. But because we had the decision made, those solutions were available. And just a few weeks later, I would be at my most northeast point. I'm just south of Augusta, Maine, on day 43. So this is, 21 days? 21 days after Jacksonville Beach, I'm in Maine.
And you should add, so he had to take 6
2
weeks
weeks,
off.
2 weeks.
Well, you're supposed to take 6.
Well, we were stopped for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
That's
stopped
all.
for 2 weeks, but so he had an MRI in Amarillo, Texas. It showed a developing stress fracture in his pelvis. Yeah, and so they said you just have to stop. And so he couldn't even get on a bike if he wanted to. So as a family, we all
Oh, yeah, thank you.
we all came in and he wore a bib, and we all, it said move in memory, and we had someone we were moving in memory every day of the travels. And we would post their picture and anything about them that the family wanted to share on Instagram. But, so we would just take that bib, it was kinda like our baton. So if I went 20 miles on the bike, I'd wear it, and then the next person, say my mom, she would go and do 30 miles. So it was kinda like, so as a family, and our kids did it too, our little, 12-year-old, he got on these big bikes and just did the best he could. But it was really a transformational thing for the trip as a whole, to be able to because I would always feel like he was in pain all the time. He was so tired as he was running, but he really felt like he should be the sole one to run. And so when we could all work together, it really kind of made it really special to just come together and work together as a team. So
And it brought on a whole new level for our trip. And it dovetailed into the whole purpose of Survivors, right? You surround yourself in service. I couldn't do anymore. And I felt strongly in Pierre, because I asked that question a lot. Hey, can somebody else help me carry this bib and do this route? And I felt crystal clear, no, this is you. But when this happened, then it was like there was a door that opened up, and it was as clear, it's like, you need to carry this for a little bit, because I wanted you to now appreciate what it's like to work together and let people step in. Even though you've kind of been doing it, watch what happens when you let people join in. And our pace, obviously we're on a bike, but so many parallels in life. Our accelerated time, there was a joy that came, right? Well, on the bikes that was not present for 8 months. It was hard, but the bike was totally different, and it was fun to join in as a family. It was amazing, and they carried what I couldn't carry for those weeks that I had to kind of slowly get back into it. But we finished together. I apologize. Okay, there we go. Oh, this is.
Yeah, it's not very often you find me speechless, but man. My soul is full. This is truly incredible. Just contemplate and think about that every bit of this journey has been either on foot or bike. Team of me that just aches. I was able to do the run, and it was fine, but oh well. The Iron Horse is full and faithful. Got a few more miles to go yet tonight to get to Augusta, but here we go.
Well, I'll share one story. It was really cool. So our kids wanted to get to the Jacksonville, Florida beach, and so basically, we all kind of worked towards it during the day, and we weren't gonna quite make it by nighttime, but the kids, so my daughter and 3 boys, they said, no, we're gonna do it, we'll go through the night, we'll ride. And
We had to be there on Thursday,
Yeah.
this was Wednesday.
Yeah, and so Josh was like, hey, I'll go with them, and he basically just slept while they took on the task of riding and supporting each other, and they made it. By morning, they were running into the water.
Destin, Florida.
Destin, Florida, yeah. So that was just another, working together type of moment and cheering each other on to.
And they got donuts without me. I mean, they got donuts and didn't even wake me up to eat.
They knew you were tired.
They got pulled over by a policeman when I was
Oh,
totally
yeah.
asleep. I didn't know about it until later. They got pulled over by a policeman, which we did
Like,
occasionally.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? You're driving down
In
the road
middle
with
of the night.
hazards on in the middle of the night. Teenage kids like, whatever, but.
But that was another kind of pearl too, right?
So that was the first policeman. Benson got kicked off, but then the next policeman that we ran into was a police officer who saw what we were doing just kind of from gathered it, and then he wanted to be an escort for us. So it's in the middle of the night, and if we were on the Alabama and Florida were just close to the border, and so he was an Alabama officer, and he gave us a police escort for like a couple miles to the Alabama-Florida border. Stopped, talked to us, told us that he just lost an officer, fellow officer. He had no idea what we were doing. He just could tell that we were riding in the night in a support vehicle. And then once he stopped and found out, he gave Nelson, who was riding at that time, the 12-year-old who like this on the bike, because he could only touch his pedals when he would lean all the way to one side. Gave him like a challenge coin, and then it was neat because as we learned about his friend and it was a new day, that was his friend became one of the people on our bib. So Nelson got this new bib on. The officer got to put the bib on and write his friend's name down onto the bib and send us off. It was truly awesome experience for the
And there were so many moments, well, so many times like that where God put people in our past that needed to hear our message and know about it. That like, we just got to the point like, you can't, like it's God, you can't plan these things. Like right when I walk out of the RV, there's a lady there and she just lost her dad. Or just like camping by someone and they had been lost. So it was just so many of those, and those were like meeting those people at those moments are like what kept us kept us going. And then we call those pearls from the pavement, those miracles. I'll tell one. So it was in Idaho, and Josh was coming into Boise.
I think our
And
projector just got tired. Yeah,
and he was on a back road, a country road, and there was a cemetery. He was on Cemetery Road, and he's running, and there's a family coming and a bunch of people to have balloons at the cemetery. And he's thinking, I gotta get to where I need to go. If I stop, like he's thinking I should stop because hello, a cemetery. This is what our whole message is. And then he did stop and he asked them, and it had been 1 year since their son had passed. And so the next day we were doing a walk to the Capitol, which we did whenever we came to a Capitol. We'd invite people to walk a mile with us, and they could wear a bib to the Capitol. And so they said they might come. The next day they showed up at the park that we met at, and their son had just passed away with cancer. And that walk was like one of the most meaningful walks. They were able to like just open up and tell us about Lucas and the difference that he made in life and the difference that he's still making in life. And it was just amazing. And then when we got to the Capitol, I thought that we reached like 5,000 miles. And so I had things to celebrate. And so I asked Josh, I'm like, we made 5,000 miles, right? He's like looking at his phone, he said, no, I'm like 59 miles off. And Lucas's mom opens her jacket and the number 59, and that was his football number. And so like you can't plan those types of things, right? And then Josh was gonna run a little more that day, and he did, and then he always wanted to like touch something to come back to the next day. So he was trying to kind of wandering around trying to find something to touch. And then that night he synced. You turned your Bluetooth on, right? Because he turned it off to save battery. And he was just looking at his miles and he's like, oh my gosh, I did have 5,000 miles. Now I feel like a fraud because that 59 meant so much. And then I was like, well, you better call his dad. So he calls his dad and he's like, oh no, it was a neat, like it was still really cool. And then you finished with the.
So that month, I kind of kept, obviously I kept track of miles, but that month of October, my mileage for that month was 859, like 0.00, and that didn't happen, not even on a daily basis, let alone a monthly basis, to have it end in 0.00. Like, that's like perfect, right? It's clean. So when I called Lucas's dad, but I was kind of like, oh my gosh, there's what number again? 859. So 59 was in that number. So I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, there's really got to be something to this. So I shared that with him, and then he shared with me that 859 is actually he and his wife's number, because Lucas's baseball and
Baseball number
football
was-
were 8 and 59. And they would, since Lucas passed away, they would flip the 8 on its side and say 59 forever. So like infinity, 8 on its side. So for the last year, they've been texting each other whenever they see 859, send a text to each other, 59 forever, just in memory of, you know, their son or whatever. And here I am, some random dude that they just met the day before, and these numbers like show up. And I mean, I can't describe quite to you how my understanding of what it took to have that work out is so mind-bogglingly impossible to plan. Like, I know I'd have to have the smartest AI in the world, and then I'd have to be an able participant to make it happen, right? And I clearly demonstrated on a daily basis that I was not capable, much to Stacy's disappointment, of being where I was supposed to be on time. Like, that just didn't happen. So,
Well, and now they're starting a nonprofit to help other families with children with cancer. So it's really, really a
Yeah.
blessing.
It's 1:30. We've been at this for a little bit. There is so much we could share. I want to just share a couple. I wish I had some pictures, but I'll share a conversation that I had yesterday night with a lady named Terry Lynette. I met her. Man, these stories are really touching to my heart, so I hope I can get through this. But I met Terry Lynette in California on the beach just south of LA. And I was running the route, and Isabel was supporting me that day because Noah had taken a little winter hiatus, Christmas vacation, whatever. So Isabel, our oldest daughter, that was with us on the journey, Lily's our oldest, but Izzy was the oldest with us. And she was driving the vehicle. She wanted to go swim in the beach. And so she was at the beach. I met her down there, and there was this couple, Terry Lynette and her friend Elisa from San Diego. And I don't know how to describe it other than most days there would just be people that I knew I needed to talk to them. And so I went and visited with them, and it was Elisa's birthday, and they were just having some chill friend time on the beach, and had an opportunity to tell them a little bit of I'm wearing my bib, and they were like, what are you doing? Where are you from? And I started telling them, and people's eyes were like, wait, come again? You know, like start to realize that. So she invested some time and wanted to learn more. And at the end of our conversation, this lady just said, and this happened a few times, but this was a singular experience. She said, do you mind if we just say a prayer with you? You know, and she like, I'm stinky sweaty. And she like just put her arm around me, gathered me in with her friend Elisa. And so there's the three of us as he was swimming the beach, gathered us in, and this woman offered a prayer. And I tell you, I have not heard words, and I can't even re-articulate the words of this woman's prayer in my behalf. And she prayed for my wife, she prayed for my kids, and it was just like, wow, such an amazing experience. And she just lifted me. I left that, whatever I came into that exchange or that interaction with, I left with so much more. And I was refueled, and it was a long day that day. I think we did 60 something miles that day. And much of that fuel came from this woman that I met. So yesterday, I woke up and I just had the idea I needed to call some people. And I'm thinking about this today, and next week I speak at the state dental meeting, kind of sharing this similar presentation. And so I called Terry Lynette, and I come to find out that at that time, Terry Lynette was just learning how to walk again. She's a dancer, she's a very active person, exercise, all that kind of stuff. But she had a tumor in her leg that they had to do surgery on, and the doctors told her that you probably are never gonna walk again, let alone run or dance or any of this. And she wouldn't have any of that, and she was determined. She made what's the D word? She made the decision, and it was something she felt strongly that was true and accurate, and so she made a decision. So when I saw her at that time, she had just been walking for a few weeks. I had no idea about any of this. She didn't share any of this with me, which is kind of also, here she just poured herself into me, right? Rather than telling me all about her. And so she had this amazing recovery, and going through all of that right at that time. After that, she got breast cancer. She's had all sorts she lost her mom. And I'm finding about this last night on the conversation, and she just an amazing woman. And she was telling me that all of those things were preparatory, and that she's learned so much, and that now it's helped her. And so she's going in a very different direction in her life now as a result of these things that she's experienced. And that, when we met that day, she was like, that, I needed that, and like, she followed us for the rest of the journey, and it was something that she needed, and I needed, and so it was this cool choreography. We call it divine choreography. Lily's a dancer, Stacy's a dancer, and the choreography is very intentional and planned. So it was really neat to talk to her last night and hear and learn about this. And of all the things that happen, these little coordinations are impossible. Lily passed away on August 26, 2017. And so as Terry Lynette's telling me about her life, and she tells me about her mom, I ask, because I keep a calendar still, and I add people's names to that calendar to move in memory of. And I said, well, I need Dorothy, I need your mom on my calendar. And I said, when did she pass away, Terry Lynette? She said, August 26th. I'm like, what? And I'm like, Terry, do you have any idea August 26th? She had no idea. Like, she no. I'm like, that is the day that Lily died. And there was just silence. I'm like, we're on the phone, separated by, almost 2,000 miles or whatever, but we were connected like this last night, and reconnected, I should say, from that event that happened. I didn't plan at the beginning of the trip to meet Terry Lynette. She didn't plan to meet me on the beach that day, but we get that opportunity too on a daily basis. Yesterday, I met a gentleman, Chris, and he's a brand new perio patient, and he's 4 years old, and he's a disaster. He just is a disaster. Physically and dentally, he's a disaster. He's got a lot of stories. Every tattoo he has probably can tell you a lot about that night, or that mistake, or that fight, or the guy he murdered. I don't know. But he's a rough dude. But yesterday he was in because he wants to keep his teeth, and he wants to make some changes in his life. From the moment he wakes up to the time he goes to bed, he's got something in his mouth, chewing tobacco or something. And we were talking about, like, well, teaching him about the relationships of tobacco and periodontal disease, and he's like, that sounds like something I probably ought to get rid of if I want to keep my teeth. Yep, you're 100% right on that, and he hasn't been to the dentist's office in 12 years or something like that. So that's a serious amount of neglect, right? So we talked and we connected, and at the end of that appointment, like, I was on cloud 9, he was on cloud 9, and he is motivated, and like, I know that Chris, his life is going to change because of what our interaction was. And he was in a vulnerable space, very uncomfortable, hasn't done the things he knows he should, humbled enough to be there, but willing enough to know, okay, it's not if, it's how we're going to make this work in the future. And what a privilege it is for us, to find people on a daily basis who we can make a difference not everybody will be as dramatic as Chris, thankfully. But we find people on a daily basis that we can make a touch point, whether it's hygiene, whether it's admin, whether it's assisting doctors, wherever it's at. We, as, you know, I guess everybody's in people industry gets that opportunity, but we're literally in people's mouths. And we are in people's faces, and mouths tell stories. You know, that might be obvious, but mouths do tell stories, right? And so we get an opportunity to get into people's lives. And when you share and let people share and then have a co-vulnerability or a co-connection, there's really a massive opportunity to have some very big changes. And I know 10 years down the road, if Chris keeps this connection going, he's gonna be a different guy. I'm gonna be a different guy. I look forward to like seeing Chris in 10 years. I look forward to seeing him in 20 years and seeing where he's at. And I know that the changes he makes in his life with his mouth are absolutely gonna change the effects. If not just his pocketbook from chewing tobacco, right? Chews all the time. It's gonna have big effects in all other parts of his life. So the Black Pearl Project for us was such an honor and such a privilege. And it was Lily kind of the impetus that got us going, but really the fuel for everything that we saw on a daily basis was the people that we met. And the need that we were so fortunate. I mean, so many people blessed their lives and like made our lives so much richer and better. And
I was just telling in
Please.
Nebraska, small town, and I find a camping spot that has like 5 spots, like that was it on this big like lawn of grass. And I'm pulling in and the RV is so loud, and the guy that's my neighbor now, what is this all about? And I'm like trying to yell at him, like, oh, just tell me when you're done. Anyways, so I pull in, I tell him what it's all about, and then the next morning, Noah comes into the RV.
we were sleeping.
Yeah, and he's like, there's someone who wants to talk to you next door. And so I was like, okay, and so I got the kid, I don't know what I was doing, but I was finishing up with what I was doing. And I go out there and there's a lady sitting there, and it's their friend that lives in the town. And she had lost her daughter a year or 2 before. And she was just gonna get up and leave, I guess. She'd been waiting for a bit. But so she just was able to open up and tell me her story. Her daughter unfortunately committed suicide, and she'd just been kind of like lost, like mourning, but she knew she wanted to do something. And so when I told her the idea of like serving and continuing her legacy, it's like the light went on. She's like, yes, I can do that. And we were in a town, Spencer, Nebraska, and Lincoln, Nebraska was the capital, which is 4 hours away. And so I told her what we were doing in a couple days. She's like, oh, I can't make it that day to do the walk to the capital. I hope that something happens so that I can come, you know. And it did. We were a day late or something. And so she drove with her friend 4 hours to walk a mile to the Capitol with us, which was amazing to me. Like I just couldn't believe it. But it was really special for us and for her. And then on her birthday, she posted on Facebook, so it was down the road. Yeah, her daughter's birthday, a few months down the road. But she gathered people in her town. They did a walk, and they walked to the cemetery, and they did like a food drive in her memory. And she has a friend who owns a plane, so we did a flyover, and then they met for breakfast at a little diner place. But just it's so rewarding to see these people, to see them make a change in their grief journey, to make it, like transform it into a gift, like I said. And these people have changed my life, and just their stories and the miracles, they're just so dear to our hearts, you know. And as we came home from our trip, it was a lot different than we thought. I think just coming down from something so epic, and we were always on the move and having these amazing, miraculous experiences and meeting so many people, and then coming down to real life was like, whoa, like a shock to my system. Like kids were fine, they seemed okay, but I wasn't okay. So I'm not an Olympian, but I've kind of read about it, and like Olympians work their whole lives for that one moment of the gold, you know, and then to come down from that, it's like an actual like physiological thing that happens. So I kind of feel like that happened to us too. But it's been a learning experience, like these, how many months that we've been home too, like it's been hard, but I've grown too through that. And I think it's just people's maybe their reaction or non-reaction to it. I was so full of like, this, you know, all these amazing experiences and all this, and maybe it's just people didn't know how to, like what we did just seemed out of this world maybe, and they couldn't, so just having us here and being able to share our story is such a gift, so I just want to thank you for that. And there was, I think, just going along with meeting people at the Pure, South Dakota Capitol, Christine Ohm, the governor then, she actually came out on the steps and we got to meet her. So that was absolutely amazing. But then you take that and all the people in between, and Josh sitting around a bonfire with a homeless man in Seattle. So it's just like we went, you know, we met her and we've met like other senators at the Capitol or whatever, and everything in between. And it was just everywhere you go, right? There's good people, there's people, we all have our own stories, and everyone is going through something, right? We never know what they're going through, so just the kindness that we can extend. And even through, like, maybe it not be like a death of a loved one, like your hard thing, can be something else. But if we reach out of ourselves and serve those around us, it seems so opposite of what I wanted to do. Like I remember Josh, when Lily had passed, it was pretty soon after, and he's like, we need to go visit a lady. I said, I can't, like I have nothing, I'm empty, I'm dark, what do I have to offer? And he said, we're going, so I went, and I don't even know what I offered.
Probably a little nicer than that.
Probably. So we went, and I maybe gave her a hug, I don't even know if I said anything, but like after I left, I felt a little lifted, you know, like, so it's just like this magic.
And she needed that visit.
Yeah, so it is a magic that, because when we are hurting and we're going through something, we just want to like retreat. And if you would have asked me before Lily passed away, where I would be, what I would do, I'd just say I'd be in the fetal position, you know, forever. Like, so just.
And I think that that's a really good, maybe that's, if there's anything you can take away from this is, I don't know who else is missing here, but you guys get to be with each other every day. You get to be with each other every day. And heaven knows, some mornings when you come to work, it's not a good morning or whatever, like things aren't, you're not coming in on your all smiley, rosy best, whatever. Maybe the cat threw up in your bed last night, or Jimmy's not going to school today, so you had to find baby, whatever it might be. And therein is the gift for each of you to, when you know that somebody's coming in on a bad day, or if you like and can perceive that, instead of getting annoyed or frustrated, like choose to be a blessing to that person. Choose to lift that person, because we need to be lifted when we're broken. Like we need it. We have a hard time lifting ourselves, but we really lift well when we have people swoop in, give us a compliment or whatever. We had a girl that just started hygiene school. I only got to work with her for a little bit since I got back, but I loved this part of her personality, and I thought that it was so helpful for office dynamics. There was no secret whether she had a bad day or not, and she would come in the morning and she would tell you, Doctor, I'm crying, I'm on my period. So I'm just letting you know, it's not really good right now. I'll get over it, but I just wanted to let you know.
I have a lot of people who are like TMI.
Yeah.
You know, like, just
But
Go
it
and
gave
swim
us
on
all
that.
the opportunity, one, to keep our little distance low, but also to lift. And then once she got it out, the day was, I mean, there was never a day that she like lost it and wasn't able to be helpful. She just needed a space to be able to share, and once we let her share and weren't reactive with her sharing, but just listened and went to help her, it was awesome. And that's a gift that we can all be to one another. And I can promise you, you might know this already, you might not, but doctors don't always have good days, okay? It's a choice that we make to come in and give our best to every patient. Some days we don't feel like even that we have our best to offer, but we still make a choice to do our very best, because that's what the patient's there for. They're paying us for their help, for our help, and so we make that choice intentionally on a daily basis. And it's not easy, but the intentionality decision then opens up the doors for the solutions and the creativity that we need to solve the problem we didn't even know we were gonna have to solve when we came in for the morning, right? Right? Isn't that how it goes?
That's how it goes.
So,
Do you guys wanna hear some funny stories? So Pier, we're on our way to Pier, it's like the
Hold on a
longest dirt
second,
road
are
I've
these gonna be
ever.
funny for me too?
Yeah. So we're on the longest dirt road ever made, and I was new to the RV, and so just.
It actually was the longest
Dust.
dirt road that we drove on the
Yes, it
whole
was crazy.
tour, because we decided we're not doing that again,
Yeah.
ever.
So, and then our videographer was with us, and he was just from Rapid City, so he just was with us until we got to Pier, but, and then we're just kinda, hanging out, Josh is running, and then they come in, they're like, there's a time change. I mean, totally hit space that there's a time change when we get to Pier, and we're not
Well,
even like close.
2 hours from, like,
Yeah.
for me, way far.
Yeah, and so we're just like, okay, we have to hop in and
Yeah.
speed there, cause Governor Nome was gonna meet us at
And
a
it's way
certain
this
time.
time, kind of
And
slow.
so Josh had to be driven to Pier to meet people that were meeting us for the mile walk or run. And then we did that, met her, and then basically he had to drive back to where he ended and then run. So we did that sometimes, like, he would just speak, because where I found the place to stay that night might not have been along the trail or his route, so he'd have to get, mark his spot and then be driven back, so there was.
here's the funny part, and I apologize for the bathroom humor, but I can tell you that there's nobody in the world right now that has pooped in every state in this nation like I have, okay? So that's a claim to fame. And finding bathrooms on a regular basis, at first it was a little awkward, but now going to a normal bathroom, it's kind of weird. I'm teasing. That was a very welcome, like, oh my gosh, I am so glad to not have to find someplace. And I'm telling you, when you have run 20, 30, 40 miles, to squat is something a big deal. That's a really, really big deal. If you've ever run if you've run a 5K, 10K, half marathon, you know that your legs get tired after like a mile. So lots of,
Going up the stairs.
yes, okay.
Me too.
Yes. So anyways, those were some of my, like, I would be laughing to myself, this is ridiculous, holding on to corn stalks so that I didn't fall back into my own stuff, or one day I went to this.
You're gonna keep going?
Yeah. So one day there was this place that was on the road, and I needed to go to the bathroom in many places. If there was, that was my first choice, gas station, anywhere, or like an office space. And I can't remember exactly why, but I thought this office space definitely looked like a good place to have a stop. And I went in and I was denied cold, hard, I told them a little pity party story, whatever I was doing, and it was just stone cold. And normally I can break through some of the people's normal daily processes. I recognize this is your job, I'm not here for, whatever, but they wouldn't break. So, and they had this big, huge window that they were sitting in front of. I walked in front of that window and I went straight across the street, only one row deep. 2 row deep and you're pretty much hidden. 1 row deep, you can still see a little bit. And I was 1 row deep and I just let it go right in front of their window across the street. So I was so upset at them and how unkind. They wouldn't let me use their bathroom.
I like
So
how he was
unkind.
worried about your story.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
We did, like, you have to empty your sewage from the RV, and that was like our first, along that highway, that gravel road, that was our
Oh,
first,
in
like, we're
South
trying to
Dakota?
figure out how to even do it. I don't even, like, funny. Anyways.
Yeah, that was so funny. Stacy did have a couple of spatial discoveries
Oh,
in the
yes.
RV, 38 feet and driving.
The kids and I, we try to find like national parks or presidential museums. We found a glass museum. How did I know that? And I was trying to get into this little parking lot, and my daughter had gotten out to try to help me, but the vehicle's so loud, and anyways, I was
It's
looking
a
at my.
diesel engine.
I was looking
and
at my
it's-
cameras
the
more,
cab.
and she was screaming, telling me that I was gonna, crack right into the big curb. I didn't hear her, and I cracked like the whole back, the side of the back totally got crunched. I destroyed the curb.
But she
I
drove
just
it for a
felt
year.
sick. Oh.
She drove it for a year, and that was in the first month. I took it for a drive after we got back to go
Just ripped the
camping,
whole side.
and I had 18 feet of it ripped the whole side.
I was like, let's
of the
just say
RV.
I drove it for a year and there was just a
Couple
little.
times.
Do
It
we
was a
still
lot.
have that RV?
No, we sold
We
it.
sold it.
did.
Yeah, we sold it.
The guy in New York just bought it.
So the RV is also tall and
Oh, yeah.
bridges
Oh,
and
that's a funny one.
overpasses. So Stacy
And
had
like the GPS tells me, like usually would tell me if I was too heavy for a bridge that was coming up or too high for a bridge. But then I remember it was in Nebraska in the middle of the night on a dirt, like country road, no lights, and I see this tiny, it looked like a tiny passageway to get under a bridge, and I just slammed on the brakes and I told my boys to get out, and I'm like, just tell me if I'm close or I'm gonna hit it. We were fine. But then there was another time, it was in Jacksonville, Florida, and there was another bridge that I couldn't tell, so I had Talmadge get up on the side,
climb up
climb up on the side of like
the overpass.
the overpass, but it wasn't like a busy, it was just kind of a normal street. And I was just like, watch and tell me if I'm good. So just like that stress too was, and in New Jersey, lots of bridges, and I had my GPS on, but it wasn't telling me the right way to go, so I just used my phone. I come up to the bridge and I see the weight limit, I'm like, I'm too heavy, and I was the first one in the line, all these other cars are
Rush.
behind me.
Rush traffic.
And so I had to get out and tell the cars, like, can you all back up? Because I have to back up, I can't go. So you're all gonna have to back up.
This is just outside of downtown New Jersey,
Yeah.
the capital.
You know that most people probably got to work like this lady.
I know.
Is in front of me.
I didn't transform my grief into a gift, I transformed my anger into a
Yeah.
How many miles did you run today? Like, I know it varied, but.
So I ended up running 200 days, that was the days that I was on my feet. And 42-ish miles was the average. So.
Did you have a couple like 80s in there?
I had one that was 104, and which all that means is I went through the night. So it was like 2
Oh,
days,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
just it's like I just went through the night. So I had 104, I had an 87, no 90s, no 70s. I had 19 who were 60 plus, 47 of them were 40 to 50 plus, another 47 were 20 to 30 plus. So yes.
Did you guys always know you were gonna go back to Rapid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like, did you have a house or you just kind of lived in your
So
RV?
coming back was hard too, cause I didn't really have time to look at houses. And so coming back, we're like, I guess Heart Ranch is the place.
So we lived in
You
our
guys know about Heart
RV
Ranch?
for 3 more months when we got
Heart
back.
Ranch
that
is a
was
nice
hard.
area.
It was really, it was a nice place to land, but also kind of just hard because I had it, but I didn't wanna rush.
Yeah.
It was a good place for the kids to be, and,
Do you guys live similar to where you lived before?
no, we live, kind of out of town.
My-
Rock area.
My brother decided, he lived there
Oh, yeah.
for 8 years and they decided they were gonna move March of last year, and so we are in their house.
Oh.
We kind of at least hope we will buy the house this year, we'll at least sleep in it.
And what was it like going back to ministry?
You know, for me, my personality is pretty simple. Wherever I am at, I'm consumed by it. That's probably what made it easier personality-wise to do that. Is my job was to just get out and keep taking steps. Like I'm kind of robotic. I can do that pretty well. So when you come back to the office, I just went straight, which was probably way easier transition for me than Stacy, because Grace was in school, which is the first time in 21 years that she had been childless during the day, right? So but I just went back to work and just put me in the chair, and there was the first time I went, the first time I went to suture, afterwards, I did have a split second where I put the needle in the needle drivers. I'm like, how do I suture? How do I make this work again? I know the picture that I want to do. Like, how do I do this? And then as soon as I like stopped thinking about it, I just let my hands do it. It was just like magic, just like boom, just. Yeah, and so there was that wasn't a big deal. But yeah, and so it's easy for me to just be with people again. I love what I love people. I love having the ability to have a skill. I love working with our team. That's a joy for me. I truly love the way that they help me, the way that they interact and help each other. You know, that's a gift. I don't ever go to work thinking, and I use that term specifically, I don't ever go to work thinking, oh, I don't want to work with so-and-so, or oh, I have to deal with so-and-so. Okay, they're a really great crew. We have had changes, as you know, Mark and I are not together. That's actually put me back into the Black Pearl Project mode, because now I'm working 5 days a week, which I wasn't before. I'm seeing patients 5 days a week, and right now I'm doing all the hygiene, so I'm like hygienist, dentist, guru. Nobody's had cleanings like a periodontist still, I promise you. I can't overlook, and I'm not saying I just do, it's just sometimes. What I've really learned, and this has been beneficial, we need to modify the way that our hygiene schedule is. Sometimes our patients, in a periodontal office, most times our patients need more time than what is allotted for them to provide the therapy that they need. And Michelle can tell you, when I'm running hygiene, I'm taking more time than what's allotted. I'm the doctor, so I get to just choose it all day long. But it's really opened my eyes and helped me create some empathy. Like, these are really difficult patients to manage, and a periodontal patient's a periodontal patient for reasons. Their occlusion, their genetic susceptibility, their tricky places to clean, their lack of brain to toothbrush power, like whatever it might be.
It's a really good way to put that.
Yeah.
Can we use that to your side?
Absolutely. But it's been also really helpful for me to see, where we excel. It's amazing, some of these patients that I saw in initial exams, and they've been with their hygienists, and those hygienists have got those patients like locked in and dialed in with the rubber tip and the end-tuck brush, and I look at them like, this is glorious. Hardly any plaque. This is awesome. What are you doing? I use the rubber tip. I use the end-tuck brush. Yes. Like, so that's hugely been a big testament to how important.
I'm gonna ask you a hard question. So you just kind of went, our office is a little bit different, but as you know, we're also splitting why we're a much smaller group today. And we've always kind of been two offices, and I know that you and Mark and the staff that was there was kind of together.
Very together.
Yeah, very together, where ours is not. Ours is still kind of, day to day. But if you could give us some words of wisdom or some words of advice, what would be as we navigate this on our side, what would you tell us?
I am a really simple, some people might describe it as lazy, I just don't like hard things. But,
No, I just running.
Yeah.
Ran like 30 million miles.
my default in human relationships, is make it better for the other person than it is for you. Like, if you can put your heart into making it better for the other person, you're gonna feel better at night. Even if it is a little harder for you, you're gonna be okay. You'll probably learn some things that you might not have learned otherwise, but making it better for the other person is always the win. Like, in my book, Stacy gets upset at me sometimes for that mentality, but with this situation that we're in, I was sitting across from an individual who was making a decision for me in my future, and they felt comfortable with that decision as long as they were in that position. If they got into my position and we switched the tables, they would absolutely not accept that. That's a problem to me. Like, so if you can sit in the other person's seat and feel good about how that's going and how you're approaching it, I think that's like a really, really good way to approach it. And it might mean that it's a little bit harder for you. It might mean that you might not get everything that you wanted, but it's a gift to you knowing that you're giving them a little bit of the upper hand because they might need it. You know, and in our situation, Mark absolutely needed us to set him up with as much resources as he can and to be as positive and beneficial to that practice as he can. That's what's best for Mark. And that to me is and he's like my best friend. Why wouldn't I do that with him? Maybe the dynamics are a little bit different, but still, when we have the opportunity to do that for other people, like, to me, that's easier mentally. I don't deal with hard stuff very well, so I just want to make it easier on me. I want to make it easier on the whole process. And usually, if you give somebody the upper hand, they're usually okay with it. So, that's
great.
that's probably really crappy business advice. It's really good personal advice.
That's why I asked. Do you guys have any other questions?
I'm just curious, what states have you guys been to? And any questions you have about any states?
Which state did you go back to?
Vermont was,
They actually we met a security guy there and we told him what we were doing. And he's like, oh, well, I'll take you up to like the rotunda. Usually, you know, each capital has a rotunda. You can look up. This one you couldn't. It was just like at a ceiling. So we had to go up in the attic and it wasn't done. It was all bare wood. And then I thought that was cool. And he's like, no, we're gonna go up these stairs. Like I thought I was in a Disney ride or something and I was
Harry Potter or
yeah.
something.
So we go up all these stairs and there's this tiny little door. It's like go through there and then we were on the top of the Capitol building.
It's like you're climbing out of a door that's
Like with a
this
little railing.
wide and this tall, like you're climbing out of this little hole.
So that was a really cool.
And you know,
experience.
like a building that has like a guy or a lady or something up on top holding, you know, like some angel, whatever kind of thing. You're climbing up at the foot of that thing, up on the very top. So you're at the tippy top. The only thing higher than you is the lady that's on
Yeah.
the Capitol, the statue or whatever. And
And also it's so beautiful.
that was cool.
And then like Savannah, Georgia is another like quaint. I love quaint. Like shops and water and really.
And Charleston, South
Architecture.
Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Savannah and Charleston are very similar.
Yes,
Yes,
very,
yeah.
very.
Santa Fe, New Mexico was really cool. Just like the architecture was very different. That was almost like Louisiana. That was like another country. I was like, whoa.
They have water fields,
Like
fields of
rice
water
fields, yeah.
that they're growing rice in and crawfish. And they're 3 or 4 feet elevated. They pump water up and then have miles and miles. I mean, the